everyone, and welcome back to the Sedona International Film Festival, where we're coming to you live from the Sedona Rouge Hotel. I'm Carol Kahn, and our sponsors for this particular festival is Sedona Rouge Hotel and Spa, Digitech, and Black Magic Design. We'd like to thank them for participating and being sponsors during our silver anniversary. And I'd like to introduce you to Russell Brown. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Great, thanks.
And your film, Conversations with a Cigarette.
Yes, I have a short film, well, an 18-minute film called Conversation with a Cigarette, and it's starring Ian Hart. And it's about a man who is trying to quit smoking. It's the last 15 minutes before he's committed to quitting smoking. And he has an extended dialogue with a human incarnation of a cigarette that he also plays.
Okay, how did that idea even come to fruition?
Well, I was a smoker, and I smoked for many years. I tried to quit many times, and one of the things that was always so interesting to me was sort of the dialogue that would go on in my own head about my relationship with cigarettes. And what happened was I started to really think about it in terms of like a love relationship. Like I was in a relationship with cigarettes in a way, and the things that were destructive about them and the things that were wonderful about them. And I sort of used that as a starting point to write this dialogue between these two. And then I thought it'd be interesting to do it as kind of like a cat and mouse sort of film noir movie. So that was the inspiration to what I thought, why I thought it'd be an interesting kind of cinematic experience.
Well, we do have a trailer, so let's take a look at that.
Great.
So, you've come back.
I came to say goodbye.
Well, then why are you still talking to me? Shouldn't be.
And you can't believe anybody likes this.
I don't remember exactly what happened.
Was it the media? Was I indoctrinated?
Those glamorous 40s movies. For all this PC bullshit got in the way of a good time.
I got them closer to the spirit. It's not me. It's the mind. A friend of mine once bought me an ashtray that said, Jesus hates it when you smoke. If in the pipe such pain doth dwell, how hot must be the pains of hell. You slither and slime your way back into my head. If I was so bad for everybody, then why wouldn't everybody die from me? Everything you've said has been said for hundreds of years.
Fried chicken and power lines. Even the air will give you cancer.
It almost seems like so Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, I always thought of it as sort of like The Servant, which is a pretty well-known Joseph Losey movie from the early 60s, or Night of the Hunter was like a big inspiration for the kind of what we were going to, the look we were sort of going for the movie and the feel, so.
And is that why it was shot in black and white?
Yeah, we were really just trying to do a film noir, sort of a classic film noir.
Mm-hmm. So is this your first film?
No, I mean, well, I'm about to start in April, I'm going to start my 7th narrative feature. So I've made, 7th feature-length movie. I've made 4 narrative films and then 2 feature-length sort of documentaries. So this will be my 5th feature-length narrative movie. And then I've made a number of other short documentaries, short narrative films. And so it's not really my first film, but.
What's interesting? I've talked to several filmmakers here. It seems like this year is almost the year of the short.
Yeah.
I've seen so many of the short films being in this particular film festival, and we were just talking to a critic this morning about shorts, and he was saying that it's harder even to do a short than it is to almost do a feature-length film. What's your take on it?
Well, I don't know if I'd say that's so true. I mean, harder in terms of like the production of them, or
well, just so concise, because you know what? It's like you have to get to your point in a shorter amount of time than you have over a full-length feature.
Well, I think at least with my feature-length movies, I try and be as, in the same way, I always try and approach it with the same level of specificity and intention. So I think in that way, filmmaking is kind of the same, a feature should be just as tightly put together, hopefully, as a short would be. I think sometimes what defines a short versus a feature-length movie is really the kind of what the intention of the project is. I just made another short film called The 44 Scarves of Liza Minnelli, and I bought 44 of her scarves at auction and distributed them to friends, and we made a movie basically telling her life story through these scarves. And to me, that's like a perfect short. but that idea wouldn't, really be able to contain, last for a feature length time. So to me, it's really the material.
Where did you find 44 scarves?
Well, she was having an auction of all of her stuff, and she actually auctioned off, I think, many more scarves than that. But 44 was the number I wanted to do.
That's awesome. So did you enter any technical difficulties or anything like that in doing this particular film?
I don't think we had any particular technical difficulties. I mean, the one real challenge of this movie is, we have the same actor playing both parts. So whenever we wanted Ian to be in the frame with himself, we would have to, lock off the camera. He would have to go change his wardrobe. We'd have to make sure that nothing moved and then put him back in, and he would then have to play the other part, which is sort of an acting challenge because you've just finished doing one set of dialogue from one side, and then suddenly you have to transfer and do the other side. It's hard, it's a challenge. Mm-hmm. So in that way, that was the challenge.
Now, you've written and directed this particular film.
Yes.
And have you done that in your other films as well?
Yes. Like I write and direct all my movies.
Awesome. And what is the difference in, pretty much writing it and also directing it? Is it basically because you have the control of telling the story?
Well, I think it's less, I don't know if it's so much about control. I mean, it's more like, you're taking your kind of vision from soup to nuts, I guess you would say. So, I mean, I don't intentionally not direct other people's work. I mean, I've had the opportunity to do it. I've just never kind of had the time. But yeah, that's just the way I approach things.
And how difficult is it, or not, being in, it's not difficult, but just being a part of film festivals?
Oh, I love being in film festivals. They're great. I mean, you have audiences who are really receptive and encouraging generally, and it's a way for more challenging and work to be seen. There's really no place to see shorts theatrically, for example. So, that's a great benefit of film festivals. All my features have started their lives at film festivals and then gotten picked up at festivals by distributors, and so I think they're really like an essential part of the lifeblood of independent film, certainly, and movies in general.
Well, being part of film and the film industry, it seems like more and more, there's more film festivals popping up around the country. There's more people filmmakers sending their films to film festivals.
Yeah.
So do you find that like a big importance or a big change?
Well, I don't, the number of films thing I can't really comment on because I'm not really on the programming side, so I don't really feel that as much. Like, I'm just sort of doing the same thing I always did. In terms of the number of festivals, the thing that's really good that I think is happening is that there's a lot more good festivals and well-run festivals, and the process of getting them started and making them successful and making them a real community asset has become a little bit more, accessible to people and understandable. It's a repeatable model. So what I find is that younger festivals that I go to are well run from the beginning, faster.
Mm-hmm. I'm finding that in sitting here and interviewing people year after year, there seems to be certain buzzwords with the film festival circuit. Like a couple years ago, it was all about fundraising and figuring out how they were going to get their film, paid for. And then there's distribution.
Right.
So how difficult is it to get your film distributed?
Well, I think it's the same thing. I don't think it's that hard to get your film distributed badly. I think it's a lot harder to get your film distributed well, and I've had good experiences and bad experiences with distributors, and I think the real goal is making sure you find the right situation for your movie, because it's really easy to get involved with a distributor who doesn't have great intentions. I think that's probably, there's a lot of that happens. I think it's a lot harder to make a good deal. The one thing that is kind of interesting is that I think self-distribution is a lot easier than it used to be. If you choose not to go with a distributor, which I think a lot of people are doing and kind of wisely doing, there's a way to get your film onto the streaming platforms and, and that wasn't so true when I made for example, my first feature, which was in 2003.
Well, how can people find out about your film?
Well, they can find out all my films at my website, which is just rb-films.com. Yeah.
And is your film playing again at the film festival?
It's playing tonight at 7 o'clock.
And where is that?
I can't remember. I know the time. If you say it, I'll be able to remember it.
There's Harkins, Mary
yes,
Fisher Harkins.
Yes, that's where it is. Sorry.
7 o'clock at Harkins. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, Russell, thank you so much for being with us at the film festival, and it's very nice talking to you today.
Well, it's nice talking to you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And we will be back with more from the Sedona International Film Festival after this.